The Lifestyle Show, presented by Selina Mackenzie.
On a Wednesday, which means it's culinary corner time now. We're going to be talking about the book Heartland Masala, an Indian cookbook from an American kitchen. Welcome to the show, Auyon Mukharji.
Thanks so much, Selina. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're more than welcome. I'm intrigued. There are two authors and an illustrator. Is the other author your mum?
Yes, that is correct. My mother and I have been working on this book for 8 years now, which is, if any of you listeners out there have a mother and can imagine what it's like to work with her for the better part of a decade on a creative project you're invested in, that is what it was like. So we are very pleased to be at the finish line now and have the thing in hand.
I'm sure you are, but she's pretty amazing, isn't she? I was reading that she's taught Indian home cooking to thousands of people in the Kansas City area. Is that where she lives?
That's exactly correct. Yeah, that's where I grew up. She's spectacular. Yeah, my mom's a retired physician who then got into teaching cooking classes back in 2010 and has had 6,000 plus folks through her kitchen. She's a much beloved figure within the Kansas City food community, and I had the privilege of getting to write this book with her.
And where did you come in then, Auyon? Are you a cook as well?
Yeah, I do cook a lot. My day job is as a musician, actually. I play in a band called Darlingside that is based in New England, but we tour internationally. But I spend most of my time thinking about food. And for this book, a lot of my role was, when my mom had me join the project, I wasn't that interested in writing yet another cookbook that sort of an Indian immigrant moves from India to the US or the UK and puts together a collection of family recipes. It's a lovely genre, but it's also pretty full at this point, and didn't feel the need to sort of add to that. So the thing that we got excited about was adding in a lot of culinary history and context for these dishes. And so I did sort of a deep dive into Indian culinary history over the last several years. And so a lot of my work is our head notes, which are the pre-recipe blurbs, are split between us. My mom's talks about her sort of family experiences and teaching experiences, and mine talks a little more about the history and culture behind a lot of the recipes. And then there are also a series of illustrated essays sprinkled throughout the book. That involve things like the history of chai, which is quite recent, the long history of lemonade in India, and all things like that. They're not all drink related, but that's the idea. So I'm more history and context, and my mom is more the sort of Indian cooking expert who grew up in India.
That must be good for you, because you've probably learned a lot of things yourself. If you grew up in America, apart from the stuff your parents told you, you must have been learning as you went along.
Absolutely. Yeah. I would say I was born in Virginia in the US and then grew up in Kansas City. So I had a very, I'd say, tenuous relationship with Indianness, or sort of one that was hard to define, and researching this, sort of defining my relationship with India and Indianness on my own terms, and getting to learn about it, especially from a food perspective, which is what excites me most, has been really, really rewarding. It's been a really nice time learning about all that.
Yeah, I'm sure. And you mentioned the illustrations and photography. That's Oliver Kugler, is it?
Yes. So Olivier Kugler is a German man with a French name who lives in London, and he did the illustrations, which are spectacular. I've been dreaming about what these illustrations will look like, because I've been writing these essays or putting together these essays for so many years. And he nailed it, just totally brought them to life. They're such a beautiful combination of whimsical and playful, and also sort of get the point across. And then our photography was done by a Midwestern photographer named Kevin Miyazaki, who's a Japanese-American photographer based in Milwaukee. And we did a 10-day shoot together at our family kitchen in Kansas City. And those photos are all in the middle of the book. Like we did, I've yet to find a cookbook that does a great job of having illustration and photography side by side, where the two art forms don't take away from one another. So for our book, illustration is the primary visual currency. And then in the middle is a series of a 32-page spread of this beautiful photography by Kevin.
Yeah, it looks amazing. So
thank you.
There's 99 recipes. Is it a recipe on one side of the page and then your history on the other side? So each recipe's got its own history?
No, I'd say so. Each recipe has a head note, which is the sort of the standard little blurb, pre-recipe blurb. And that's often a split head note. So my mom and I each say our piece before the recipe starts. And there are 99 recipes, as you mentioned. There are probably about 20 of those essays sprinkled throughout. the standalone illustrated essays. So it's not one for every recipe. And sometimes they're not even related to a specific recipe. It's more like, hey, this is a thing that happens if you boil lentils or dal with the cover closed. You will summon a lentil bubble monster who will erupt out of your vessel and make a total mess out of your stovetop. And so that relates to like a bunch of those dal recipes. So it's not one-to-one, but there's a healthy dose of illustration throughout the book as a result of them.
And apparently there's a step-by-step guidance section as well.
Oh yes, I'm big on steps. My previous life, I majored in biology, a liberal arts degree, which is worth something, but not all that much, at a liberal arts college in Western Massachusetts. And so I tend to be very science oriented in spite of my arts background now. And so the step-by-step bit is an important part for me.
So there are these recipes in the book, and one of them apparently is masala Brussels. So how do we make masala Brussels? Can I just ask you one question actually before you answer that? Does masala literally mean spice?
So yes, first, Selina, you are allowed to ask me any question you want. This is your show, so I'm here for you. You tell me what to do, and I'm going to dance. Yeah. So masala roughly translates to spice mix, and so for the title for our book, it sort of relates to the spices, but also this mix of influences. That is, my mom is Punjabi. She learned Bengali cooking from her mother-in-law. I'm an Indian American mutt. And so it's the idea of a spice mix and a mix in general sort of feels appropriate to this is diasporic cooking. Diasporic cooking is a combination of influences. And so in this, the masala literally means spice mix. So like spiced Brussels sprouts is another, would have been a totally fine title for it as well.
Okay. So yeah, tell us how to make the masala Brussels then.
Yeah, totally. And so this is one of the recipes in the book. There are many recipes that my mom is serving as a conduit for that are sort of traditional recipes that she does in her way, but are recipes that would be recognizable throughout India. Masala Brussels, like my mom did not grow up eating Brussels sprouts in India, and so this is her, one of the riffs that she has come to as sort of a Midwestern Indian cook. And so we have canola oil, cumin seeds. And Selina, would it be helpful for me to talk about specific amounts, or is it better for me to talk about it more conversationally? I want to make sure that I'm doing it.
Specific amounts will be wonderful, please. Then our listeners can have a try.
Yeah, totally. All right. So you've got a third cup of canola oil, or any oil that you feel comfortable frying in that has a high enough smoke point. 1 tablespoon of cumin seeds. 1 large russet potato, which we listed roughly 320 grams, cubed into 1 inch or 2.5 centimeter chunks. I'm glad we have metric for all of our lovely folks out in Europe. 2 tablespoons of ground coriander, 1 tablespoon of amchur. And amchur is ground dried mango, and this is a magical thing. So this is unripe green mango that has been dried in the sun and then ground up. And what it does is it's not sweet like when you think of a fresh mango. It is incredibly tart, beautifully tart. And what it's especially useful, the reason it's especially useful is that most acidifying agents in Western cooking, if you think about like vinegar, lemon juice, citrus juice, all of these things, they are liquid. So you add liquid. In order to add acid, you also have to add liquid. Amchur is a dried acid. So you can add acid without adding any liquid, which allows a lot of flexibility. It's such fun to play with outside of Indian food too, on popcorn and all sorts of other things. But for this recipe, 1 tablespoon of amchur, which you'd be able to find at any Indian store, also any spice shop where you can order online. 1 teaspoon of ground cumin, 1 teaspoon of salt, plus more to taste, 1/4 teaspoon of ground cayenne, which is optional, and then 1 pound or 455 grams of Brussels sprouts, trimmed and quartered lengthwise. If some or all of your sprouts are shorter than 1.5 inches or 4 centimeters, have them lengthwise rather than quartering them. And now the recipe. So step 1, you're going to heat the oil in a large lidded but uncovered for now nonstick pan over medium-high heat. Once the oil starts to shimmer, you add the cumin seeds and sizzle, giving the pan a shake or two until they darken a couple of shades and become fragrant, about 30 seconds. And just to describe that process, that fat tempering of spices is a very standard cooking technique you find in Indian food, both to start recipes like we're doing now, where you heat the fat and then add some spices and then build off of there. It's also a lovely garnish. So you can heat fat, add some spices, they darken a bit, and then pour it over a dish like a dal or Western dishes too, popcorn, etc. After that aside, step 2, you're going to add the potato. which you've already cubed, and cook, stirring frequently until the potato is lightly fried all over and starting to brown on all edges, 5 to 7 minutes. A nonstick pan is pretty crucial for this, just because you want to make sure the potato doesn't stick. So I highly recommend using that nonstick pan that we referenced in the first step. Step 3, you reduce the heat to low and add the coriander, amchur, ground cumin, salt, and cayenne if you're using it. Try to sprinkle the spices evenly over the whole pan to avoid clumping. Stir well to combine, and then immediately add the Brussels sprouts. The ground spices should cook in the hot oil for just a second or two before the sprouts join the pan, but they will scorch if you wait too long, so you have to move quickly here. This is where the mise en place, or making sure you have all your stuff laid out before adding things to the pan, is extremely helpful. Step 4, stir thoroughly again. Increase the heat to medium, cover and cook, stirring every few minutes to make sure every vegetable piece is eventually coated with ground spices. Keep the pan tightly covered between stirrings to preserve the steam. The dish is done when the potato pieces are totally soft but still keep their shape, 10 to 15 minutes. If the potato takes a bit longer than that to soften, reduce the heat to low and stir often for any additional time to ensure the spices don't burn. The sprouts should be cooked through but can have a bit of bite, and the spices should darken a few shades but not blacken. Lastly, step 5, and perhaps the most important one, taste for salt and serve hot.
Oh, sounds delicious. I must admit, I don't like Brussels sprouts, but I'll be willing to try them.
Yes, I hear you. Do you enjoy Brussels when they're paired with something like bacon or something especially fatty? I
do, actually. It's very naughty, but yes.
No, it's not naughty. That is the right way, I think. I mean, I think that mustardy quality of Brussels sprouts is a beautiful thing, but for some people it's a little much unless it's paired with something that balances it. And I think with that bacon and fattiness, that's one beautiful way to balance it. And in this dish, the acidity of the amchur is an incredible balancing agent. Like that bitterness and acidity work together to make something that I think is greater than the sum of its parts. So I think it's sort of, you can think of this as sort of a cousin of the dish that has that fatty bacon thing, only in that it's a balancing act with the Brussels.
Yeah, sounds delicious. And that's in the book, Heartland Masala.
Exactly. It's at page 93, specifically in the vegetables exclamation point section.
Great stuff. Well, for our listeners, we are selling the book right now on our website. So once again, it's called Heartland Masala, an Indian cookbook from an American kitchen, by Auyon Mukharji, who we're speaking to now, and his mother. Is it Yoti, your mum?
Jyoti.
Yes, Mukharji yes. As well. So thank you very much for that. Now, do you have any sort of website for your cooking and for Darlingside?
Yes. So Darlingside is at darlingside.com, which is, and we're also on Spotify and Apple Music and all of those things. But Darlingside is spelled DARLINGSIDE.com. And then for the cookbook, I really dislike social media. And so I'm not on Instagram or any of those things, but I am writing a newsletter, a Substack newsletter. So if you look up Heartland Masala Substack, which is just HEARTLAND MASALA, and then Substack, SUBSTACK. That'll take you to a newsletter where I've been writing these essays about the process of working with my mom, what it's been like to put the book together, put the photography, put the illustration together, all of that stuff. It's sort of mini dives into all of those topics. And I'd love for folks out there to be reading.
Great stuff. Well, I wish you lots of luck. Do say hi to your mum for me, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Selina. Really appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
Take care. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.